Hey, so we're back with part 2. I said in the last video it would be a 2-parter. I kind of breezed over 6 verses, and now we're going to dig deep and talk about them. So in the prior video, we talked about the man and the woman in the garden. We talked about the conversation with the snake and how that all went down, how the woman took that fruit based on the suggestion of the serpent and ate it, and then gave some to her husband who was with her. So he was there, he knew about it, and they both ate. And when they did, their eyes were opened, and they realized that they were naked, made some clothes out of fig leaves, and then when God came around, they got scared and hid. And instead of fessing up and owning up to what they had done, they decided to hide. And then once God asked them what happened, even though he knew and suggested that he knew, they continued to pass the buck. They blamed the next person after the next person after the next person. And until there is a point where God punishes absolutely everybody who was involved. And then they are eventually put out of the garden. They are given clothes from animal skins, and they have to now survive this punishment that was placed, or the curse is what is most commonly referred to. So I'm going to cover the 6 verses that I breezed through. So we're going to be in Genesis chapter 3, verses 14 through 19. And we're going to talk through those in kind of their own time. I do want to start off by saying there is going to be a mention of infertility, difficulty during pregnancies and conception and things like that. So I want to make sure that everybody is aware of that ahead of time. If you are triggered by that kind of thing, God bless you, baby. I pray that you'll be able to listen to this and kind of get some understanding. But if not, I will see you on the next video. So let's go ahead and get started in verse 14. So once they're all found out, everybody has passed the blame. The Lord, it went from the man blamed the woman blamed the serpent. And so God looked at the serpent and said, because you have done this, because you are responsible for this, because this is a fault that lies in you, you are going to be cursed among all the animals and among all the wild creatures. And you're going to spend your life on your belly. That's how you're going to get around. You don't get to stand up, run, jump, whatever it is you do. You're not going to fly. Like you don't move the way the other animals move. You're going to move on your belly. And you're going to have your face in the dirt forever. You're going to eat dust all your life. So that is the first part of it, is that it's the serpent's ability to maneuver is changed. It's a way that it gets around changes, and that it really has to live in the dust. It's going to eat dirt. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to have enmity. And so in verse 15, it says there's going to be enmity. Enmity is strife. It's like that kind of on-site kind of hate. It's going to be problematic between the serpent and the woman. It's on and popping. Since y'all want to blame each other, y'all want to talk and be co-conspirators, now y'all can't talk to each other. Y'all not even going to like each other anymore. And this is going to be a generational kind of problem. So this is going to be, it's going to be your offspring versus her offspring forever. It is what it is. Y'all not going to be, y'all not peaceful. You're not peaceful anymore. There's going to be problems between the serpent and the woman and the seed of the woman. Now, it also adds that he will strike your heel and you will strike his head. He will strike your head. Let me say that correctly. He will strike your head and you will strike his heel. So the seed of the woman is, in a lot of my research and a lot of things that I've heard, is referred specifically to Jesus, because Jesus is born of a woman, born of a virgin woman. And he is chosen specifically because he, of course, Jesus is male. And there will be a fight between Jesus and Satan. That there is going to be a battle, but Christ is going to be victorious. Jesus is going to be victorious in that. So this is kind of foreshadowing to years into the future, where there is a kind of I don't want to say a fight because it won't really a fair fight, but that there is going to be enmity throughout the years. And at some point, there is going to be a strike, and that strike is going to be at its heel. So it's going to be a very small, short thing that the serpent is able to do. And, but the offspring of the woman, the seed of the woman, is going to strike and crush his head. So there's going to be a mighty blow on the other end. So it's going to be like a very unfair fight. But because of the terminology that's used, while people say that is foreshadowing to Christ. Either way, there is strife between the serpent and the woman's offspring and the serpent's offspring. And it's going to be problematic. So the next verse, verse 16, it says, to the woman, he said. So God speaks to the woman. She didn't get a because. She is punished for being involved in this. You part of this trio of foolishness, and because of that, you are going to have your own punishments. But the punishment I want us to take a look at from the perspective of a woman and understanding what these words are meaning. So it says, I will greatly increase your pain in childbearing. In pain you shall bring forth children. In the King James Version, it says, I will multiply your sorrows in conception, and in sorrow you will bring forth children. It kind of pinpoints two different things. So in childbearing and in childbirth. In conception and childbirth. And when you think about those things through the eyes of a woman, I want us to think very quickly about the entire process, from the point of conception to the point of a child actually entering the world. There's a lot of things that happen. There are a lot of things that can go wrong, and this is what this is talking about. This is the conversation that we're having here. Over and over again in the Bible, it talks about being barren. And it's a lot of different places where God says your women will never be barren. Your women will be fruitful. And that is a promise. That is a gift, because that is God intervening into this kind of punishment that he created for womankind. So I want us to look at this from the perspective of a woman. I'm saying this because a lot of times we've been taught this, but we've been taught this from a guy telling us. And a lot of times they don't understand, especially if they're older. They don't always have all the ins and outs because it's just women stuff wasn't something that you talked about. So first is pain in childbearing. There are lots and lots of problems with childbearing. It's lots and lots of situations that come up. And one is fertility. There are two sides to the fertility coin. There are people who live life on a very regular fertility plane, have a baby when you're planning it, have singletons, they're healthy babies that are born. But there are women who have hyperfertility. There are women who have sets of babies repeatedly. I know people who have twins, and then in the next pregnancy, a year later, we'll have another set of twins. Now you have 4 children under the age of 2, sometimes 4 children under the age of 1, depending on how closely these babies are born. That is a lot of taxing on your body. There are women who have natural triplets, quintuplets, quadruplets, things like that. And this hyperfertility is problematic because while there is a small window of conception for most their window may be larger. And it seems like no matter what, they just spend every year for several years pregnant. That has its own sorrows attached to it. While, we definitely want to consider that all children born are a blessing and that it is wonderful to be able to carry a child, because there are women on the other side of that coin who cannot. Hyperfertility is a problem. It is taxing on your body. It is taxing mentally. It is taxing financially. Like if you are consistently having babies, like these hospital bills and doctor bills pile up, the care of these children pile up. Trying to put 4 kids in daycare so you can go to work, even if you have a committed spouse who is working right alongside of you, is a lot. So there is a lot that goes along with that. So hyperfertility is one sorrow in childbearing. The other side of that coin is infertility. And infertility is a struggle very different from hyperfertility, but very much its own thing. When no matter what you do, you can't get pregnant. You have gone out of your way, spending money, financially, you are struggling to be able to conceive. You've put efforts into medication. You've had shots. You've had pills, doctor visits. You've been poked and prodded. You've gone through several different scientific methods, and you just cannot seem to do the one thing that your body is supposed to do. And it is a very mentally, physically, financially taxing situation as well. So either side of that is problematic. There is pain in conception and childbearing. Then you have moms who never get to hold their babies, or never get to hold a baby that gets to look them in the eyes and smile. They never get to be moms, although they will give birth. These are moms who have miscarriages after miscarriage after miscarriage. These are moms who have stillborns. These are moms who have babies that just cannot survive. They're consistently born too early or too late. There's always something that seems to go wrong in those pregnancies. I am so, so very sorry that anyone understands what this feels like. It is not an easy thing to have a miscarriage. It doesn't matter if it is several weeks or several months into a pregnancy. It is not easy to plan for a baby that you don't get to bring home. It is not easy to never be able to do the thing you feel your body is supposed to do easily, especially when you still get a period. Because that just makes you real bad, because why? Why? If it's not going, if this uterus is not going to work, why? So again, I am saying it with all sincerity. I understand in so many ways what it feels like to miscarry, what it is to lose a child, what it is to be in hyperfertility situations where when you go to the doctor and you're just like, please tell me just baby A. Please don't say baby B or baby C, just baby A. I know what it is to be in those situations. So please hear me when I say I am so very sorry that you know what this feels like. This is the sorrow. This is the pain in conception. Not being able to get to the childbearing, or get to childbearing and not get to have a baby to come home and watch them grow up and grow, to not be able to mom that child. So that is what that is. It also includes all those weird things that happen, like PCOS and endometriosis, all of these kind of very heavy cycles or infrequent cycles, things like that that just really pull at you in the core of your womanhood. That right there is what this is talking about. I don't think anyone's ever explained that, but that's the conversation that I got from my study, got from my understanding, got from putting on the lens of a woman and not a lens of a man, and talking to God about it to better understand this. The other part of that one verse that's assigned as punishment to the woman, because God knows that's enough, is your desires will be for your husband and he shall rule over you. And this is another one that has just been beating people over the head, especially women, where this has been kind of a tool used to explain submission, or a tool used to explain how you want to be in charge, but he's in charge of you, and women don't have authority and power. And I want to look at that from a different lens. I just want us to think really quickly about someone, hopefully it's not you, in a bad way, but we all know someone who is just love drunk. They may be intelligent, bright, giving, caring women, but there's just one guy that it doesn't matter what he does. They are just like kind of stupid for him. If he's unfaithful, after some crying and tearing and snotting and girls' nights and a little glass of wine or some ice cream or whatever it is that you do to get past that, he's back in the house. There is where they consistently say, but I love him. And they can't seem to shake him. It don't matter how horrible of a person he is. And they are willing to give up their everything for him. If he want to move somewhere else to chase a pipe dream, let's pack and go. And it doesn't matter what type of career, what type of degrees, what type of lifestyle this woman has. It seems that she's just stuck on stupid with this guy. That is the desire that this is talking about. When you are putting it into the right place and it's with your husband who cares for you and loves you the way Christ loves the church, it works well. When it is misplaced, it's going to beat you in the head. It is a curse to you when it is misplaced, when you are chasing behind somebody that don't really care enough about you to do right by you. I have watched enough divorce court. I have watched enough paternity court to really see people who are just love drunk and just stuck on somebody who doesn't mean them well. And I want to make sure that we understand that's what that is. Him ruling over you just is really part of it's that submission piece. But it really is him having the authority and the ability to talk you into anything when it is rightly placed in the hands of a husband who loves you the way Christ loves the church. Then it is a really strong partnership. You are 100% help me and y'all are rocking into the top. But when it belongs in the hands of some knucklehead, it's setting you guys both up for failure. So I'm going to move past that. But I did want us to look at that differently because I've never really heard it explained that way. And it makes things make so much more sense. So to the man, we're in verse 17. And in verse 17, God says to the man, because you have listened, because is back, you are at fault for doing this thing. This punishment comes as a result of your actions. Because you have listened to the voice and have eaten the tree which I commanded you not to. He didn't tell Eve that he said, I told you not to mess with that. He didn't say that to her. He said it to him. So he said, you are going to live, actually, you're going to live by the sweat of your brow, by the sweat of your face. You're going to have to work for everything you eat. I'm going to curse the very ground so that it will no longer supply what you need. Prior to this, the water came up from the ground and watered the plants. We didn't even need it to rain. Like the water came up and watered the plants. Stuff grew. You wanted something to eat, you just go pluck your little spinach, your little collards out of the garden and, chef it up a little bit. And now you're eating good. A little corn or something, that's fine. Let's get some stuff. Toss up a salad, a little cucumber and tomato. Let's make us a quick salad or something. I just want some fruit. I can just pull it from the tree and it's fresh and it's ripe. It's ready to go. Now you got to work for it. I was giving it to you before, but since you don't want to listen to what I said, you want to listen to somebody else, let them supply it. Let you go out and get it yourself. You grown. That's the conversation you have with your kids. When you tell your kids to do something, they consistently don't do it, or they break a major rule in your house. Oh, you grown now. Oh, you grown? Okay. So I'm not going to do this stuff for you. You go get it yourself. You take care of yourself. Rent's due on the 1st. And that's what's happening here. This curse is literally God pulling a rug, that soft space from underneath the man in the garden. And this punishment is so you can do what you want. Cool, go do what you want. Don't worry about it. Nah, you can't take none of the stuff I bought you. But you go live your life. Go do what you want to do. And it says that thorns and thistles are going to come up. So you have to garden and grow your own food. You got to learn how to cultivate these seeds. You got to learn how to make apples by mixing, crossbreeding these plants. You got to learn how to do this stuff. And it's going to be work. It's going to be all day, every day work. If you ever met a farmer, they do not just be like, it's it's the weekend. Let me take a couple of days off. They are at it. They are hard at work regularly. And you are consistently, if you even had just a very small, like outside garden, little flowers in your yard, you are consistently weeding. There are thorns, there are weeds, there's all types of stuff that grows up with it that you have to take out of it, or it'll choke out your plant and you won't get to see the harvest. You won't get to see the flowers on it because the thorns are going to choke it out. And so you got to work for this. Like, you got to work for it. You got to earn everything you have at this point. And then once it's over with, that same dust you came out of, you're going right back to it. You don't even get to come back here. You don't even get to bring this little dusty body of yours back into this space where I am. You're going to take your little dusty body and put it back to the dirt. It's going back where it came from. I don't want that dust up here. So this is what they consider and what they call the curse. This is the punishment that was enacted for their actions. There is a trio of foolishness, and the trio all got punished. Everybody got something that they were to struggle with because of their disobedience to God. We have to remember that when God says do something, we don't get to decide if we want to. We don't get to decide, wait, okay, well, he told me not to do this, but that was 6 months ago, so I'm pretty certain I could do it now. That is not how that works. If he says don't do it, don't do it. There's no time limit on the instructions unless he says don't do it for today. And if he's not that specific, trust and believe it's a don't do it until he says do it. So, quick recap. There were 3 people that were foolish in the garden. And from that, there are 3 punishments that are passed down, one for each of them. The serpent is going to travel his days in the dust on his belly, and there's going to be strife between the woman and the serpent, and then the offspring of each. The woman is going to have sorrow and pain in conception or childbearing and in childbirth. It's going to be a horrible experience from start to finish. And they are going to have desires for their husband. They mind is going to slip a little bit when the right dude come along. And let's just hope that you slip for the right dude and the right dude slips back. And that there's going to be some submission. There's going to be some rule over you. There is going to be a hierarchy now between you guys so that I can ensure that somebody is in charge of watching for foolishness. And I can come to say that you were in charge of these people and you were in charge of this family. There's going to be a hierarchy that happens now. Into the man, he said, I'm going to curse the ground so that every day of your life is going to be work. Just for the very thing you need to exist, everything in your life is going to be work. And after you've worked your whole life for this, and you've spent all this time cultivating this ground, trying to make it work for you, you're going to work until you sweat. Like it's going to take elbow grease to make this happen. And after all of that, when you're done in this lifetime, this body that you have that I made out of dust is going back to dust. There is no forever for you. There is no eternal life on this earth for you. Did you hear that? On this earth for you. So that is the curse. That is the part of part 2. After this happens, there is an animal. There are animal skins that God uses to give them clothes. And so that is literally the first sacrifice. Because of their sin, because of their disobedience, God had to kill an animal, because to remove the skin from an animal, it's going to have to die. But he had to kill an animal. And that is the first time where there is bloodshed to make atonement for sin. And they were given those clothes and removed from the garden. And then there's an angel with a flaming sword placed there to guard it so that there is no one that returns to it. So I pray that you all understood. We took a good look at this from a different way, a different perspective, and that it resonates with you. So with that, y'all have a fantastic weekend. Be blessed.